An Excel user form that's working well can be a great addition to a spreadsheet. We're all used to working with spreadsheets, doing data input, managing little databases. That's one of Excel's primary uses, building, managing little databases, but it can take a lot of time going down to the bottom of a database, trying to find an entry in a database, particularly if you've got a big data set with lots of rows and columns. Now, a user form that's well implemented can be really helpful. It can help speed up all of these processes that are really boring and taking us a lot of time. For example, a user form can help us to put data into a database, really speed up that process, so that rather than having to go to the bottom of the database manually to navigate to the bottom of the database, rather than having to click through all of the columns, we can have everything in a nice form that we can move through using the tab key, and that can really speed up the data entry process. But there's more to it than that, because a user form that will allow us to add data to a database is one thing, but we'd want to do more than that. In real life, if you had a big data set, then you'd want to at some point edit the data in the data set, and you wouldn't want to, every time you wanted to edit an entry in the database, you wouldn't want to have to manually go through and find a name. Even sorting the data can be onerous if you've got a big data set. So in this series, we're going to look not just at putting data into a database using the user form, we're going to look at how to edit existing entries in a database. So this is going to involve creating a menu to look at a list of names, being able to select a name, and then for all those details to be retrieved from the database, displayed in the user form, so that we can edit the details and then feed those details back into the database. So we're talking about adding new entries to a database. We're also talking about editing existing entries in a database. So a couple of really cool time-saving functions there. But to work with user forms at all, really, you have to use some Visual Basic coding. And from a coding perspective, building a user form, getting a user form working is a really good kind of training task. It's definitely going to build your coding skills. That's because to get a user form working, we have to have lots of different objects interacting. We have to have the worksheet that's in the workbook. We have to build a user form. That's another object. And then we're going to have to put some code into the worksheet, and we're going to see with user forms there's different places to put the code, not just in the module but in the user form object as well. But we're going to have some code in there working with the different objects and binding it all together. So from a coding perspective too, it's a really excellent task. In this video series, we're not going to assume much in terms of prior knowledge. As usual, there's download files on the website. You can download the file at the beginning of the task and at the end of the task. So I recommend you download the file at the beginning of the task and work along with me. It's quite an intricate task. There's 9 or 10 videos on this, 2 hours or more of tuition, but I guarantee if you work through it, you're really going to feel an improvement in your coding skills. So this is the Excel VBA User Form for Beginners series. I'm Chris from Tiger Spreadsheet Solutions. I hope you'll join me in the first video.